Hey, I'm back. So today's vlog is about me. I thought people wouldn't be interested in this, so I'd never done a vlog like this before where I was just talking about my personal life. But somebody last week actually requested that I talk more about myself, so I thought that's easy, I can do that. So let's get into it. So, I should say, first things first, one of the things someone asked was where I'm from. I'm actually originally from America, which you can probably guess, but I'm from Missouri, right in the center of America. So, I'm sure maybe some of you don't know that. It's a very hot place in the summer and a very cold place in the winter. So, oftentimes people in Japan ask me oh, is the weather really different? Or lots of people in Japan say Japan has 4 seasons or something about that. It's hot in the summer and it's cold in the winter. But actually where I'm from, it's much hotter in the summer and it's much colder in the winter than it is in Japan in general. So for me, I'm used to it. The only thing I'm not used to is this humidity, which is making me look sweaty on this video, unfortunately. The next thing is probably why I'm in Japan. So it's kind of a long story, but I guess that's what you're here for, so let me go through it. When I was a young child, probably about 5 years old or so, I remember I was in, kindergarten, and they had a culture day at school, and all the teachers, brought something in from their culture. And so, of course, I had teachers that were German American, so they'd bring in, sausages or something. They'd dress up in traditional German clothes, or teachers Italian American, they would bring in pizza. And that was fine, but I'm sure you can imagine that's not really impressive to a 5-year-old. It's not impressive to me now, but it's I eat sausage in my home, I have pizza, that's not anything new. But I did have one teacher, an art teacher I believe it was, and she was Japanese American. And she brought in one of the low-sitting Japanese tables. She brought in tea and rice cakes. And although I'd had tea before, I'd never had it in the Japanese style cup. I'd never had a rice cake before. It's probably a good 10 years before I had a rice cake after that, and I'd never sat at a low table. And she also wore a kimono. I'm not sure if it's a kimono or yukata, but I don't remember. I'm too young to remember those details. But at that time, I thought wow, this is really different and interesting. And I never thought, at that age, there's really people in other parts of the world that spoke different languages or, dressed differently or did different things. And that kind of opened up my mind, and I thought, wow, Japan must be an interesting place. I'd like to go there sometime. And then as I got older, there's lots of things that I liked. For example, anime, I really liked that. Dragon Ball, I loved. I saw Ninja Scroll, Akira. Those are all movies that were, really made an impression on me, I should say. Also, I love things like martial arts. So I'll talk about that later. And so that kind of made an impression on me. And in high school, I had one friend, that's kind of a friend, acquaintance, who was Japanese, and he would teach me about things in Japan, like J-pop music. But then when I got to university, there were many Japanese people at my university, and I had lots of friends who were Japanese. And at that time, I thought maybe I'd like to actually go to Japan, and not just go and visit, but actually live in Japan. Because for me at that time, things like Japanese food, Japanese media, etc., all those things were kind of agreeable to me. There wasn't anything where I was I can't stand Japanese food, or I can't stand, Japanese music, or I can't stand, Japanese anime or something like that. Almost everything I liked, so I was why not go someplace where you like almost everything? It's almost better than America. So I'm not gonna say Japan's better than America, but you can kind of understand what I'm saying, that when there's some place where everything seems to fit you, why not at least try to go there and live there? So that's one of the reasons I came to Japan. As for what I do, I teach English in Japan, and I also play music. So I do both. Teaching English is kind of self-explanatory. I guess if you have more questions about that, I can get into details about that if you want. If someone has a specific question how do you get a job, or what do you do, and all that kind of thing. But I'll just leave it at that. Music, I do that sometimes, I guess hobby, job. I do get paid for it sometimes, but not as often as I'd like. I like to make more money. And actually I have another channel called Chandler Guitar, where it's just me talking about programming synthesizers, playing guitar, some of my original music. And actually all the music on this channel is my original music, so if you're wondering like, where's that music come from? It doesn't seem to be in the, YouTube library. It's because it's not. It's my music. I'll try to splice in some pics or some videos here of me actually playing music, singing, and playing guitar.
I need you back. Ooh, my little Miss Behind.
So recently I haven't been playing out that much and doing lots of gigs, but maybe 3 years ago I was playing like twice a month or 3 times a month. I was doing a lot, but recently I haven't been doing so much, doing more things on my YouTube channel. So that's one of the things I do besides just teach English. And on top of that, a hobby of mine is martial arts. So I have a black belt in Taekwondo, I have a brown belt in Judo, which both of those I haven't done in a while. I probably should do those more. And I do currently Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I train a little bit of like mixed martial arts too. And so hopefully I'll have my black belt in Jiu-Jitsu in the next few years, and then I'll go back to Judo so I can get my black belt in that also. And that's one of the things I liked about Japan is the martial arts and martial arts culture. So that's one of the other things that attracted me to come here. I guess the last thing I'll talk about is like, why do I do this? Why did I make this channel? So one of the reasons I made this, and probably the biggest reason, is because I just kind of wanted to share this type of thing, because before I came to Japan, I would go and I would read online about like people's experiences and good and bad, but there wasn't that much about it at the time. There weren't like YouTube. I guess YouTube was kind of big. Before I came to Japan, I remember they had Google videos, which I'm sure some of you don't even know about, but they had YouTube videos and they had Google videos and YouTube, but there still wasn't lots of stuff, so you couldn't see it, and there's actually lots of interesting things that you can't see. So I kind of wanted to show those things and, talk about my experience so people that aren't in Japan can kind of learn about that. On top of that, it's good for me because I've lived in Japan for 10 years now, maybe a little bit over 10 years, and when you first come here, it's really exciting. It's like, wow, look at all this new stuff, it's great. But over time, it becomes kind of boring. You get used to it, I should say. And not that that's bad, but to continue the excitement, you kind of have to go out and put an effort into it. And frankly, I wasn't doing that before I made this channel. I was just, kind of living my life and, coasting. But this channel, one of the things that I like about doing these videos is they help me see and do new things. Like, for example, the Kit Kat videos. Before, I would see these interesting Kit Kats, but I wouldn't buy them all the time because I'd be like, do I really want to spend, like the $5 to get these Kit Kats when I'm just gonna eat them myself? It just seems like kind of gluttonous. But now, since I'm like, oh, I'll show them to people, it gives me an excuse to do that. And the same thing with like Starbucks, special flavors, and the 3D sound walks I've been doing also give me a chance to go places I normally wouldn't go. So I did the video about, was it Meigetsuin? Before, if you haven't checked that out. But I probably never would have gone there if it wasn't for this channel. It gives me a reason to go there besides, just my own personal enjoyment. And when I go there, usually I have a good time doing that, although I should say, as you saw in my Rage Quit Zen Temple. I didn't have such a good time at that one. But in general, when I go and do those, I am enjoying myself. So that's one of the reasons I do this channel. And even the other ones too, like the most popular video on with Japanese water cakes, mizu shinken mochi. I probably wouldn't have done that if I couldn't have made a video on it, because I had to order the ingredients offline on Amazon, and then I had to try to find the instructions, and I had to read them in Japanese and try it 2 or 3 times. So it's just completely annoying. But now that I have the YouTube channel, it gives me a reason to do it. And so I think that's one good thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. Also, I'm married and I have a son. I don't know if that's useful or not, but I usually don't talk about that, so I guess that's it. So that's about it. I hope you got your money's worth out of this video and you learned more about me. If you have any other questions, I don't mind doing this again, or if you want to do like a Q&A, leave some questions down below and I'll do this more. And as always, subscribe. I don't know if the notify button is working, so if you haven't, hit the notify button. But until next time, see you.